Well, hey guys, welcome back to another review episode. Glad you had time to stop by and hang out. I did want to mention that if you're new to this channel, we have another channel that is our main channel, Smoky Mountain Outpost, because some of the people that they may see this, they tune in on YouTube and it's just a bunch of talking and not really a whole lot of building. That's the reason that we created this channel. It's kind of a behind the scenes vlog. So go to Smoky Mountain Outpost, check that out, to where we do all the building and stuff up here, and there's a lot less talk. Anyway, I thought I would build a little bit of a fire. It's a little bit chilly today. I had to have this because the wind has been up, so I put this sleeve on, and but I'll tell you what, right here by the fire it's nice and comfy, and yeah, we're just kind of, like I said, waiting for that sun to go down so that we can get some evening shots. But glad you stopped by. There's a few things that I wanted to talk to you about, so I'm going to meet you over there at the garden and we'll discuss some of that. Well, these are my cucumber plants. I actually put 12 in here, so I'm going to have lots of cucumbers. Last year I put those on a trellis as well, and we just had cucumbers hanging, so it was really easy to go through there and pick them out. So I'm trying to do everything vertically in here, that way with a smaller space I don't have to spread out, I can actually go up. But they did really well last year, so I'm looking forward to what the cucumbers are going to do this year. Tell you what, I really like cucumbers, onions, and tomatoes with some vinegar and a little bit of sugar mixed in there. It's really good. So I'm excited about the cucumbers and especially the onions and the tomatoes this year, so that I can have quite a bit of that. Well, I guess you can see I've got a bed here, and I've got a bed here that's got cauliflower, broccoli, and cabbage. They're all doing good, actually. I've got some really new green sprouts coming out. When I first planted them, they didn't have enough water, and so I tried to water them in the evening when I left, but some of the leaves had turned yellow, but they are actually coming back out again, and they're taking off, and they've actually grown very tall, so I'm confident that they're going to continue to grow and to do well. But yeah, I've got two beds of those right here. I've still got a partial row right there, and I've got one bed, like there's 9 of these sections up here that I think I'm going to get some carrot seeds and a few other things that I like and put in there. But I've pretty much got in here the things that I like: the tomatoes, the beans, the cucumbers, the cabbage, the broccoli, the cauliflower. I've got a whole bed full of peppers, and then I've got a whole bed full of onions. We'll take a look at those here in just a minute, but those are the types of vegetables. I'm not big on squash and zucchini and okra and different things like that, but and then as far as potatoes, I like only the white and the red potatoes. I don't like sweet potatoes, but that's something else that I've got to get in the ground here pretty soon, is I've got to cut up some potatoes. What I'm thinking about doing is using some 2x10s and standing them up sideways, and then filling that in with dirt and planting the potatoes in there. That way in the fall, all I've got to do is just take the stakes and let the 2x10s fall, and the dirt would be right there, the potatoes would be right there. So I think that's what I'm going to do, because I can actually do that up here in the woods, and I don't think that anything would bother them. So that's another thing that I'm looking at doing here shortly. But let's go over here and check out the onions. So all of these onions pretty much are about 6 inches tall, some of them maybe 8. And I thought that I would do a little bit of an experiment. My grandfather used to plant his onions. He'd just dig a trench or a row, put the onions in there, and that was it. So I thought I would do pretty much kind of like half the bed that way, and then half in a hill, and see if there was going to be any difference. I think that the ones that are in the hill actually may be a little bit taller. Seems like they did a little bit better than the ones that are just planted, in a row. But I think that the dirt would be a lot softer as opposed to the onion growing in the flat ground. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. But yeah, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 rows, and I don't know. There may be. I planted them far enough apart where they would probably get about this big. I don't like the big, huge onions. And what I may do is do some clippings off of this too when I do some of my cooking. But yeah, I've got quite a few onions in the ground, so that will be nice to go with, like I said, the cucumbers and the tomatoes. That's a really good meal. And tomato sandwich, I don't know if you've ever had one of those, but just slice the tomato up, put it on some bread and some mayonnaise, and you got yourself a nice sandwich. So I'll be excited about that too. And the peppers, these plants were little bitty when I got them, but it doesn't seem like that they have died. I think that they're going to take off. The only section that I'm worried about is this one, and they were little bitty tiny plants when I first got them. But it's not too late. I did notice the other day that they still had quite a few pepper plants left that were actually grown up about so high. So if these look like they're going to start dying off, I may just go ahead and get some and plant them. But so far they seem to be holding their own, so I guess we'll just wait and see. They've been in the ground now about a week and a half, so that remains to be seen. But this is all peppers. There's a mixture of habanero, cayenne, and jalapenos in here. So that's for Jennifer to make some salsa, and she really does a good job at that. I don't know whether you can see, but I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 with already little blossoms on them. They're plants, they're dark green, they're really looking good. We had quite a few inches of rainfall last night, and I didn't have to water them yesterday, and they're looking really good. I've got one back there and then one over here on the corner that seem like they're struggling. This one over here actually came back out, and it'll probably make it because I've seen some new sprouts of leaves. I'm just kind of wait and see. I don't know, I may decide to go ahead and pull it up and plant another one in its place, but I've got 25 plants out here, and I think that they're really going to do well, and going to be a whole lot of tomatoes. You know, last year I put them about 12 inches apart like this, and they just kept growing up, and we had so many tomatoes. So I think that they're going to do good again this year. What I'm thinking about doing is putting some permanent posts. I'm going to screw them in on the edge down there. I think this is where I'm going to put my tomatoes and my beans. Of course, I'll have to alternate, the crops somewhat, but I will put permanent posts on the back side there, and I may do that up on the front side here. And in a couple of years, move the tomatoes up there and so forth. But I'll have to put some on this side, and then I don't know if I'm going to use string to come down to these plants. I kind of thought about running the rows this way. I was going to make 3, one there, one in the middle, and one here. That way I could walk a long ways, but then I would have to walk quite a ways before I could come out. So I figured last year it worked really good. I would just do the same way this year. But yeah, the tomato plants they're really looking good. I think I mentioned it before to you, but I've got 2 different kinds of beans planted in here. I can't really remember. I think up to here is one type of bean, and then these 4 hills right here, they're another type of bean. The beans that I got, really don't remember the name of them, but they're white. The seeds are white, and then these over here, these are peanut beans. So out of these 8 hills, when I put a big trellis up here, it ought to produce a whole lot of beans to go with a whole lot of tomatoes. But beans are another thing that I like. So I'm kind of waiting for them to peek out of the ground, and I think that if we have some more rain that they're probably just going to jump right out of there, and they'll be off and running. And in here, they didn't have any watermelon, but I got 8 cantaloupe. That's these right here. There's one there, one by my knee here, over there, there, and up there. And they seem to still be doing really good. They've been in the ground now, I don't know, several days. And that's looks like a new shoot coming out right there. Yeah, it seemed like that rain really did a good job last night, because I left the bucket over here by the underneath the roof of the cabin, and the bucket's about half full, so it was a pretty good rain. But now right here on this hill, I figured that it would stay damp, you know, and things would be watered, you know, when it would rain, but then it would be a little bit more dry than being on the bottom. So I thought that melons may do good here on this hillside. So we're going to give it a shot and find out. But yeah, I do have 8 cantaloupe plants out here, and I've also got some wild strawberry, and there's little plants here and there. So when they come out, you know, they're teeny tiny, about big as your thumbnail, but they're so sweet. They're really good. But looks like these are dying back just a little bit. I know that they got a lot of rain, but I've never had this type of a plant right here. That may be what it does. The others look like they're doing a little bit better, but I don't know. I guess we'll wait and see. One guy commented and said that the YouTube channel Modern Self-Reliance built a root cellar, and he built it Hobbit style. And although I know the materials, because I actually watched that channel too, I know the materials that he used. I'm going to try to use stuff that I've got here that's free, but yet I still want to dress it up a little bit. So we'll see. I think it's going to turn out cute. But yeah, I had mentioned the root cellar last time. That's something that's on my list to do. I don't know that I'll get around to doing it this year, but that's something that's on the list to do. Also, that stuff that I mentioned that grew on the ground, I had a couple of people comment. That's getting mighty warm. Had a couple of people comment that they call that running cedar, and I did look it up later, and that's true. Another nickname for it is crow's foot. I guess that's what some of the older people called it. But yeah, it grows all over this hill, and it's really cool and nice to have up in the woods, because it kind of gives the woods a blanket. But I also mentioned about putting, you know, some covering on the garden to kind of help keep things moist. So I'm going to have to go over to that other hill over there, or mountain. To me, it's not real big, so it's not considered a mountain. It'd be just a hill, because we have some mountains here. But I'm gonna have to go over there, and what I may do is just take the tractor over there and fill the bucket up. It may be a whole lot easier than taking trash bags, but I can actually take my rake and get to that stuff. It'd be very difficult to get this out of the woods with that ground cover. So, you know, he really likes a fire. Whenever I would light the fire on the inside, he would go over there and he would sit. I don't know, it warms his coat, I guess. I mean, he's a hunting dog, you know. The weather doesn't affect him. He could be outside all day long in the winter and he wouldn't even know it. But he does like that fire. Anyway, are you a good boy? We went for a walk today, and I shot some nature videos, and to go along with our main channel. And he was running through the creek and through the mud, and he had it up, you know, halfway on his leg. And so I had to take him, look at him, had to take him down to the creek, so that get him to run in the creek so that it would wash it off of him, because I don't want to put him back in the truck with muddy legs, do I? No. And the horses, I'll tell you what, first time he's seen the horses down there today, and he didn't know what to think about him. That horse came right up to him, not being scared of Smokey at all, and Smokey just froze, and he stood there, and the horse got within about 3 feet, and Smokey was just had that nose up there just looking at him. That little tail was doing this number, but he wasn't going to move till I said, all right, let's go, and started walking away. Well, then he starts to jumping around, you know, and bounding everywhere like, hey, let's play. I told him, I said, you better get out of there, because those horses, they don't play nice. So, yep, that wouldn't have been a good time for you, buddy. I also had some comments about when I mentioned beating the tree with a baseball bat. I've had several people make comments about that too. One guy said that his grandpa beat the trees so hard that one fall that the next spring they started producing fruit, and they had to prop them up with 2x4s because the limbs wouldn't hold the fruit. And that's, I've never heard of that before, but I've had several comments about people saying, yeah, that was true. So if you guys have fruit trees and they're not doing right, beat them with a big ugly stick or a baseball bat in the fall. And I don't know how hard you got to whoop them or whip them, but we say whoop around here. But you know, according to what they say, that tree will start producing and it'll straighten up and act right. So anyway, there's a little tip for you. Another person wanted to know when I was going to start that earthen oven that I'd mentioned about putting in up there at the outdoor kitchen. That is on my list to do, but right now it's not a priority. I do have the ability to cook with the rocket stove, and then I've got that grill up there. The oven will be nice, but I'm trying to, actually been moving stuff out here into the cabin, so I may be here quicker than I said. I'd said another video maybe in a couple of months, but I'm thinking that it might even be sooner than that. So been moving stuff every time I come out here, and I don't have a whole lot left. I may go ahead and be able to have time, that way I'm staying here longer during the day to be able to start that project. But right now it's getting the stuff moved in there, beginning to continue to work on the cabin a little bit as I mix those videos up with some of the other projects. That way it's not so monotonous to film when I start working on the inside, something that's just, you know, repetitive. And somebody else also had another good comment too, was why didn't I finish one of the bedrooms? That way it would give me a room to stay in and then work on the rest of the house. And I kind of like that idea, so that's something that I'm thinking about doing as well, is maybe getting the material that I need to go ahead and finish one of these bedrooms. That way when I set the bed up, because I think what I'm going to do is just get some pallets and set the box springs and the bed on top of that, and I'll be good to go. But be able to, I'll do that in one of the other bedrooms and then work on finishing this other bedroom with some, I need to put at least the tongue and groove on that portion of the ceiling, and of course I can go up to the middle, you know, that, because I don't want to be working overhead, you know, when I've got stuff down in there and there's stuff falling on it. So I need to go ahead and do at least that section. I need to get the insulation in the roof at least there, and at least in that wall, and the wiring's already run, and that way, and then put the few sheets of plywood down, because I'm going to burn those and make my floor. Go ahead and put that down and then put the walls in there, and that one will be done. So then I can move everything in there, and then I can work on the rest of the house at my leisure. So I think that was a really good idea. Thank you for making that comment. Somebody also mentioned about me apologizing for the wind the other day. He said to put a piece of foam over the microphone and that would take care of it. Well, it already has a piece of foam, and it also has a dead cat, what they call that, on top of that. But still, when the wind gets up really high like it was the other day, it'll just cut right on through that. So yeah, I mean, I would like for the audio to come out really well, and that's the reason I said I apologize for the wind, because it was so strong and there's not really anything that I can do about it. But yeah, I do have a foam piece over the microphone. Somebody also said that the chicken house reminded them of something that they'd seen in a cartoon. And I guess, you know, Looney Tunes was the best cartoons. You know, what they've got out there today. I've seen a lot of the different cartoons that the kids are watching, and they don't even compare to the Looney Tunes that we used to watch when we were kids. But I remember some of the buildings, even this outhouse out here, looked like something that came off of, what cartoon was that? Hillbilly something. But it does remind me of a cartoon. So, you know, this chicken house up here and this compost toilet and some of the other ideas that I've got in mind for this root cellar and things, you know, we may have to call this Looney Tunes, Hobbitville, or have to come up with something and rename it. It'd be crazy, but no, I kind of like doing those projects, and I like making the buildings wonky like that, and it's a lot of fun. It takes more time because of all the different angles and measurements and things that you have to do, but I think in the end it looks really cool. Not that the others don't look good, but they look different, they look cool, and you know, something that's unique. So I enjoy doing those smaller projects that I can get done in a month or two. They're a lot of fun. Somebody also commented that the box elder that I cut up would be just as easy to split with a maul as it would to try to handle the logs and put them on a log splitter. I guess we're going to find out, because that's something that's going to happen here probably in the next few days, and we're going to have to go over there and start cleaning that up a little bit. I've still got the big bases of the tree, probably 15 or 20 feet, the section that actually grew up before it started growing out. I've got those to try to take the saw and cut off as much of that as I can. But I'll tell you what, those two trees yielded so much wood. You'll probably be surprised when I start getting it up here and getting it stacked. I think it's going to fill that whole woodshed. I mean, I cut things down to my thumb, you know, for a lot of smaller stuff, and then right on up into the limbs were actually as big as what I'm sitting on right here. And I cut stump after stump, or backlogs, what we used to call them. I cut so many of those, and we got them standing up everywhere. I think when I get all that busted up, that it's going to be a huge pile. But like I was saying the other day, that I've got wood laying around here everywhere, you know, it's been down. I'm not lacking for a fuel source. I've got plenty of wood to burn. So, but yeah, that's something I'm going to have to get to. So we'll try them all. We'll see how it works. He said splitting box elder isn't too hard. And you know, it had the nicest red stripes on the inside of the wood. Somebody commented also and asked, did I find any red stripes in there? Yes, I did. And they looked really pretty. So maybe I'll have a chance to save some of that and let you see that too if you've never seen it. Well, I thought I'd bring you up here and let you see what's going on up here at the chicken coop, or the coop de ville, where all the chicks are going to want to hang out. I have a lot of fun saying that because it all fits, you know, and it works well. But yeah, I've got everything burned up here, all the way around. Actually, I got the all of the openings framed. Got some trim around them, with the exception of the corners. I'm going to have to use 1x6s on these corners to be able to cover that. But once I get that done, of course I'll have to make a door to go in it. And then the window areas, I'm going to actually put some black wire mesh in there so that it'll be breathable. Okay, so that in the summertime, like what's fixing to be hot, that there'll be able to air to circulate in there. But then I'll actually have some cutouts of some wood that I can actually put back in there in the wintertime, so that the air doesn't continue to go through there in the winter. But I've got to cut some 1x4s for the roof. Then I'll be able to order some metal, and then the next thing will be digging holes and setting posts and putting in I had mentioned using cattle panels and offsetting them. That way it wouldn't be any wider than 2 inches because the cattle panel I think is a 4-inch square, but that's too big. That's big enough for a rodent to get through. But if I offset them, you know, that cuts it down to 2 inches, and it's really stiff. But then my neighbor and I were talking. He said, well, why don't you get some hog wire, or what they call welded wire. The problem is with that though is stretching it, but I might be able to put you know, a 2x4 or a tree around one end and secure that, and then stretch it with something to be able to make it, you know, taut, because I want it to look nice when it's done. And I'm thinking I'm going to go ahead and dig a trench, and I may go ahead and get a little bit of concrete. Now I have some other folks around here said that they use pressure treated lumber, and they actually stuck that into the ground, and it would last, you know, years and years before it rotted. But I think that I'll just go ahead maybe and get some Quickcrete, and when I get that down in there, I may just go ahead and set the concrete down in there, because if something's going to get in there, it's going to have to tunnel underneath. And I think with Smokey around here and the way that I'm going to build it, that it would have to do a whole lot of work to get in there, and then by that time myself and the gun and the dog would probably be up here on top of it. So but that is the next thing to do, is to start digging some holes to set some posts and building a bit of a pen for them, because that way I'm thinking that, like I said before, that the dog would probably want to play with them and not mean to hurt them, but it would probably kill them. And I don't, you know, if I need to leave, I want to be able to not have to worry about putting animals up when I leave. So as far as the fowl go, I'm going to have to build a permanent cage. That way they can go in and out of the chicken house, and they can be in there safe and out of harm's way, and I won't have to be here to, you know, babysit them if I need to go somewhere. So that is next on the agenda, to be able to do that. So if you guys got any suggestions other than the welded wire or the cattle panels, feel free to leave me a comment below. But I think that, you know, one of those two is going to be sufficient. But I'm always open to ideas. But yeah, it's looking kind of cool. And once I get it all done, I'll give it a dose of that timber frame oil. And then I still have to burn the deck. But yeah, and then build a set of steps up over there. But when I get all that done, I've already got a male and a female turkey spoken for. So if I can get this thing hemmed up within the next couple weeks, I may be able to at least go get those and put them in here, and then I'll have to work on getting me some chickens. But we're about, oh, I don't know, I'd say maybe halfway. So it hasn't taken as long as I thought, but it's also taken a few days to get, you know, because I ran out of 2x4s. I had to mill some of those up, and some other materials. So, but I do have those ready to go now. I got to get in there and get the bracing on, and then I got to cut some 1x4s. But after that, we should be downhill from there. So just thought I'd bring you up here and show you the progress on the Outpost Coupe de Ville, the Cadillac of chicken houses. Well guys, I think I'm going to go ahead and end this video here. You know, I say it all the time, but I honestly can't say it enough. My son, my daughter, and I, we thank each and every one of you guys for all of your support on both of our channels. And like I said, if you're new here, this is where we just talk about what we're doing. If you want to see the work being done, you need to go to Smoky Mountain Outpost. That's where we do all the building and the projects and everything. But guys, like I said, thank you so much for all of your support. Thank you for all of the comments. Thank you for everything that you do. You know, the emails that we get a lot of emails besides our comments. We feel a lot of love from our Outpost community. It's actually around the world, but we can't thank you enough for all of that support and the kindness that you show, not only myself but my family. And we're just happy that you're interested in what's going on up here, because we certainly like to video it and share it with you. So hope everyone has a great evening. We hope that you take care of yourself, and we look forward to seeing you back up here in Smoky 2 at the cabin again next time.